film sucks. Indie film sucks. It's the Indie Film Sucks podcast. Yeah.
Coming at you from the mean streets of St. Louis, from a basement on South Broadway, the Indie Film Sucks podcast. Because indie film is, man, the worst way to spend 27 years of your life. So tonight, as you can see, when my partners are not here, there's no Brock, no Mackie, no Brittany, just Grega. But tonight, I have a very special guest, Mr. Michael Marco, writer,
Hello.
writer, director, actor, producer of the feature film Blind Blood. Uh, yeah, so Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank
And
you
it,
for having me.
thanks for being here. And as you know, this is the Indie Film Sucks podcast where we talk about the highs, the lows, the in betweens of true independent filmmaking. And we are here to review your films. We're here to interview you about your films, and we're here to help you push your films as much as possible with our limited reach and limited budget.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much, man.
Well, thanks for joining me.
My
So
pleasure.
I'm gonna hit you up with the very first question we ask everyone. What is your suck?
My suck. My suck is I suck at finding money. But I don't know if that's really original. I think
Eh,
everybody is in that boat. So, but yeah, I mean, of course, it's like Orson Welles said, 95% of filmmaking is finding the funding. So yeah, it's hard and I suck at it. I need a Lawrence Bender type of producer to
yeah,
jump in and you know um, kind of help out, see what's going on out there because having the vision and the ideas and the concept. I don't like the word vision, to be honest with you, but having some ideas that you want to bring to life. um, it takes an army. It doesn't have to be a big army.
no,
Like my mother always says, it's about quality, not quantity. So I think that for the independent film um, business, it's being able to surround yourself with some really strong people around you, and you gotta jump in. I mean, I don't think there's any formula,
no.
to get it done. So, but long story short, money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a long time ago, someone told me because I was asking when I was first starting out, like, man, what is the best way to raise money to make an independent film? What's the best way to do this? And he was like, well, you got to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm like, well, what does that mean? He's like, oh, just be born rich. I'm like, oh, well, yeah,
And even then, you'll run into some people that'll tell you, you're not supposed to put your own money into your project and
yeah,
all that too. So, yeah, yeah, it's a challenge, that's for sure.
yeah, and I have yet to meet any indie producer who has really solved that challenge.
They're hard to find and they're hard to get to. Like you mentioned, Blind Blood. I just finished a screenplay that I really enjoyed and think it would be a good follow-up to Blind Blood. And so I'm kind of in that area right now as I'm still pushing Blind Blood out into the world, still trying to figure out, the next steps on how to get this next one off the ground. Uh, you hear a lot of people tell you your first movie is about getting your second one, man. Yeah, it's not my first, So that's the
Yeah,
thing. Uh, and so in the independent world, there is really no formula. You have a good story. It's got to be story driven, or it's still got to be good. You still got to have some skills. And once again, for me, I think it's about um, surrounding yourself with the right folks, and that can take some time to
It
find.
can. It
Yeah.
absolutely can. So speaking of Blind Blood, how did that come about?
I had worked with Richard Kroll. He's the cinematographer and also executive producer on the picture. For a while, we've known each other for about 8, 10 years, I think, at the time, and we had wrapped up a job. Actually, Richard lives where the location for the movie is at.
Mm,
That's actually his place. So, 2/3 of it is actually the warehouse where he has his equipment and such. And 1/4, I mean, 1/3 of it is the living quarter. And so he asked me, he said, "Can you write something for this place?" And never really thought of it as far as using it as a location. Never really thought it was a possibility. That's where, he lives, that's where he works, but he brought it up. And I asked him, I said, "Do you want to do a short? Do you want to, I mean, what are you talking about?" Because we had worked, like I said, in the past on several projects. And he goes, "No, a feature." And so kind of looked at the place around, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's got a very original vibe to it. I think we can come up with something." And so I went away for about 3 months, and I already had that story in my mind for years, but something that happened back in the 90s, and I wanted to revisit the story for a long time, and I just thought that was the perfect opportunity. One location, small cast, not a lot of characters, and so I went to work and flushed out the first draft in about 3 months, I think, and then we tweaked it, and then we decided to go shop it around. But yeah, that's about how everything started.
yeah, I remember watching it with my girlfriend, and I turned to her at one point and remarked, I bet this script came about because they had this location. I just kind of got that sense because, I've been doing this for a long time.
Sure.
So I immediately thought, man, this has got to be where this came from because they got this one spot. So it just makes perfect sense. If they can turn this spot into a movie, that's what you do.
Absolutely. And my first feature film was a co-direction in 2003 or four. Um, and going to the American film market in California was kind of eye-opening because my first movie was very different. It was a slice of life, comedy, about three struggling artists in their early 20s. It was about love and friendship and struggles and following your dreams and all that. So anyway, nobody touched it. They didn't
Yeah.
want it, but
Yeah.
from visiting all the distributors at the American film market, kind of the same three questions we kept getting, and at the time, like I said, it was '04, '03, something like that. HD wasn't on the market yet, as far as, prosumer or whatever you want to call it. So they were looking for movies shot on film. They
Yeah.
wanted 35. And so when you walk into a distributor's suite and you start pitching your product, because that's what it is, it's a product, and they ask
Absolutely.
you, uh, what did you shoot it on? And you're like, mini DV. And they're like, video. Yeah. Okay. Strike number one. Number
Yep.
two, who is in it? And you're like, I'm in it. And they look at you up and down like, what the fuck are you?
Yep.
And you're like, got it. Moving on. And the next one was, is there any violence and nudity and sex? And so you're like, all right, cool. I get, I get it. I know what you're looking for. And so when that came back up, I even told Richard, I'm like, man, if we're gonna write something, we got to write something that we can sell.
Hmm.
It's not about following the dreams and having the perfect story, and you're gonna
No.
be the next Kevin Smith or the next Robert Rodriguez, or
No.
okay, what do they want? They want something with high production value. They want a name attached to it, and they want a genre picture. So let's try to keep that in mind, even with the writing process. So I would say that Blind Blood was even written with the distributors in mind, and it worked because we wrapped up post production on on July of 2022, I believe. And Richard shut down his place and decided to go spend some time for a little bit in California, in Los Angeles, with some friends, kind of getting out of town. And so he went out there for a little while. And when he was there, the American film market was actually happening. And they said, "Should I go?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know," because at the time we haven't decided to look for distributors. We were going to try to send it out to film festivals first.
Hmm.
Even though I just told you the movie was actually written with distributors in mind, we just felt like, is it going to hurt? If you can afford it, if you have it in your independent budget, and sometimes all you need is a credit card, you submit it to film festivals, try to see if other people enjoy it, if they like it, if you get a nod or two or not. But the goal was always the distributors. And so Richard went out there and he met our distributor. And I had the teaser cut at the time, and I guess he showed it to them, and they were very interested. So they asked for the screener. And after that, we had some other companies interested as well, and we decided to go with the one we did because we thought it was the best fit for us. It's been fantastic, and it was kind of eye-opening trying to understand what the distributors were looking for, because I'm talking about something that happened 20 years ago. It's like
Yeah.
you write a zombie movie, but next thing you know, when you're ready to shoot it, it's a bunch of vampires out there that's in demand. So, and then you never really know. So,
No.
going out there and trying to puddle everything you need on on the page in order to make sure that they get what they need in order to get it out there. Um, so that was kind of the whole approach for it.
So are you happy with the distribution route that you took?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The exposure is, I mean, it's fantastic. It's great. I mean, some distributors just put a movie out there and within 2 weeks it's old news. We're still discovering new markets. We are in the US, the UK, Canada, Mexico, and Australia, I believe, right now. I'm looking into French-speaking territories right now as well. So yeah, but it's, as an independent filmmaker, the movie is shot, it's in the can, it's ready to go, it's graded, it's mixed and all that, but the work doesn't stop there
No.
because you don't have, $50 million in the bank to go do some heavy marketing and promotion.
Nope.
So how do you get it out there, especially nowadays when you have so much competition with people making movies on their cell phones.
Yep.
It's the landscape of distribution and even production has changed drastically over the past 15, 20 years, to a point where now with AI, you don't even recognize the industry. It's
No.
it's moved up so much. I see people demanding more and more AI, and even in post-production world, it's just becoming a new world. That's what it is. Now, how do you fit in? Maybe you don't, maybe you do. Maybe you just keep following the dream. I don't know, man. But yeah, I think that's where we are right now. And that can be another big challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any answers for that question whatsoever. I mean, with the rise of AI, I mean, I just saw someone submitted an AI feature, and I glanced at it. I'm like, well, this just looks terrible. I mean, there's no. I mean, eventually, it's probably going to be indistinguishable from humanity, right?
Sure.
It's probably like 5, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. It's gonna look just like any other movie. I mean, I kind of hope it never does, but I just in the last couple of years, it's gotten so much better than what it was when it first hit the scene. So yeah, I mean, for right now, it does not compare to human generated content, but I'm afraid that's probably going to change as time goes on.
I think you're right. I agree with you. I think that eventually they will get to a point where they'll be able to create a whole entire picture with I mean, look at what they just did with Val Kilmer. There's a movie coming out, and he had signed on to do it, I believe, and passed away
Yeah,
before they could shoot it. And so they recreated his image in AI. And that's, kind of already wondering, how is that line acceptable? I mean, what are we going to do next? We're going to go get John Wayne and make another Western with him? I mean, if you think about it,
probably
you know,
someone is
what,
someone is
what
probably going to do that. Yeah.
what stops anybody, a studio, to go up and, ask somebody for a three-picture deal with their dead uncle or grandfather and bring him back and see if it works or not. I mean, I'm sure it's in the works.
I would not be surprised.
So, as far as for us, you mentioned AI, and I've been fortunate enough to judge some film festivals over the years, and so I'm looking at different entries, whatever is being sent to me, and there were some AI category, and well, I don't know. You said they look bad. Tell me what did you think looked bad on those AI movies that you've seen or.
So you've heard of the term uncanny valley?
No, I haven't.
So that means something that looks human but is obviously not human. And that's what these AI characters look like. You can tell, like, yes, it looks like a person saying lines, but there's something just off about it. They're just they don't have the same, you know, life in their eyes as a person has. So it's really difficult to get behind that. And I'm not saying that all AI is bad because I mean it's here to stay. But I think it could be useful in some applications, as in kind of like CGI is. Instead of having to build a giant castle on a hill, you can have the computer generate the castle. I mean, and I'm fine with stuff like that. It's just if the whole movie is completely generated in AI, there's just something not pleasant about that. I don't know. I just don't have I can't put my finger on it exactly. It just doesn't feel right.
Well, the ones that I have seen, like you said, it was the human element that wasn't there. It kind of looked like to me a bunch of a stock footage. There's a woman by the window. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful shot. It's beautifully lit. She lives in a house, in a country house somewhere. There's a fire, burning, and yeah, I mean, they're gorgeous. They're beautiful shots, but they don't talk. They kind of cut away and they try to tell a story. Some of them use narration, some of them, just music or whatever. But yeah, you're right. It's missing that element, that human element that
Yes.
actors are bringing in. It's like, so yeah, it's basically doing a fancy storyboard at this point for me. I
Yeah.
think it's a
Yeah.
tool, like you're saying. I think as long as AI is being used as that kind of tools, but I think for us at this stage, it's much more toy than a tool. There are so many applications out there that people are trying, and I mean, they're moving all fast, and the competition out there are getting them to be better and
Yeah.
faster and crazier with what they can and can't do. And yeah, so eventually you're right. I mean, somebody will be able to just type up a script and start giving camera direction on it and make it. But is it going to be as intriguing as a real actor delivering the lines? I don't know. I it might take a while.
I hope not, but who knows? Hopefully I'll be long dead by the time that happens.
You and I, brother. That's the wish.
So how did you get into this uh business to begin with, if I may ask?
Yeah, that's That was a curse when I was a kid. Kidding. Just by, I think like a lot of people do, I did a play when I was a kid and in school and in a summer camp, and then I did another play in high school later, and that where the acting bug kind of sank in for me. That was my first love. I still love acting very much, and uh, so I started with the acting, and I was in a little town I grew up in the south of France. There was a little group, the ICV, the video group, and those guys were running the little movie theaters during the summer, but they also invested in camera gear, and they were shooting little documentaries for the local news or little segments if there was a race or a little festival or something, a boat race, and so we would go shoot that, cut it up, and have it on the news the next day. And then the kids that I was with at the time, we were like 16, 17, said, "Hey, we have all this equipment. Why don't we start writing on stuff?" And that's how it started for me.
So when did you come to the States?
1993 is when I first landed in Dallas, and took me about a couple of years to try to, get back on that horse because it was quite a culture shock back
Oh,
then.
sure.
It's like I grew up in France, and even though you study English in school, you think you speak it, and you get there and you're like, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. So it was, you wonder, you're like, wow, man, what if it never clicks? What's gonna happen? But I was young, I wanted to get back on it, and I had a little camcorder that was gifted to me, and I started shooting stuff around the house, and then stuff outside, and then I'm like, do I know somebody that can write? Because I didn't write at the time. I'm talking about 30 years ago, 33 years
Hmm.
ago, and so start hanging out with a circle of friends, and one was an aspiring writer, and we started collaborating and kind of got back into it, and still at that stage, you still got to work and pay the bills. So
Hmm.
I never went to film school, never had that opportunity. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go work on films. Work on films, work on television commercials, on music videos, on anything I can put my hands on. And so that's what I did. So I was in Dallas for from 93 until 2023. And so working in Dallas, there's a lot of television commercials being shot over there. If you go down to Austin, they have
Hmm.
more independent filmmakers. Than Dallas still stayed very business and in the in that aspect. But yeah, so you work, and for me, that was the art department. I started as a production assistant, and then made my way to a set dresser, and then you start art directing if you spot. Then production design was the next step, and that's when I was like, nah, I don't want to go that route. I worked in the business in order to learn. And after 5 years, you're like, well, maybe it's time for something else, because you're still trying to do your own projects on the
Hmm.
side, but you have the opportunity to get a paid education basically by going to work on those projects and look at how people do it with the big toys, and the bigger budget and such. And then you try to apply it, what you know, and then 2006 rolls around, and I had an opportunity to go to post-production. But I had to go into post-production at the bottom, so I had to start all over again. I was in the
Mm.
tape room, at the time we were burning DVDs for the clients to take home to look at the different cuts they had worked on during the day. That was before FTP servers and such. So, that's when I crossed over, but I didn't want to become a production designer. And I felt like I needed to learn a little more about what was happening in post production. And to be honest with you, I feel like I got extremely lucky as far as timing goes, because I got in right when HD was crossing over. And so, when I first started in post, they were still shooting film, and then transferring to Digibeta, and then mastering on Digibeta. And then HD comes around, and HD has different codecs, and everybody is starting to jump on the HD wagon, and that was that was great education right there, you know. And and so when I went back out in the real world, you know, I had many years of production, many years in post, and you know, that's when I was like, well, I think I'm now ready, a little more ready than I was 15 years ago. I don't know if you'll ever be ready to make a movie, you know, but yeah, so that's been kind of the arc and the journey, you know.
Yeah, I've always maintained that the path to directing is just you got to just start directing. There is like some people think, well, you got to start as a PA, then you work your way up to a grip, and then so on and so forth. It's like that's a great way to maybe become an assistant director someday, or maybe become a production designer. If that's what you want to do, awesome. But the only path I found to directing is just starting directing movies. I don't think there is any. If you do this, it leads to this, and it leads to this, and it leads to directing. It's like I don't. It's like no, you just have to at some point decide this is what I'm going to do, and then start doing it. In my opinion.
Sure, no, I agree. You you gotta be, you gotta have that idea in mind. Otherwise, what's the point? But learning how it's done was, you know, especially with the guys I was working with when I first started. I mean, 30 years ago, these guys that I was working with, they've already been in the business since the 60s of, you know,
Yeah.
it's like they were the old school kind of talking about the grips and the electricians and those guys. I mean, they've been around for a while. And for me, it was education. I'm not saying that you had to do it, but I was still writing on the side and still trying to direct and doing your own thing. So whatever you got to do to pay the bills and still be whoever you want to be, yeah. But you got to do it though. That's the key. There are a lot of people that love to talk about making movies, but when it's time to show up and put in the work, they got to go get grandma at the airport that day. So. All right,
that's
man, cool. Well, you told me to call you. I'm calling you, but okay, I get it. I get it.
that's very accurate right there. But but I think if you're going to be a film director, having so it's not that you have to be a master of every department, but you have to have knowledge of every department because that helps you in a lot of ways. I mean, if you do not want to be a cinematographer and you're not the kind of director who wants to shoot your own stuff, you should still know how cinematography works so you can call bullshit on the cinematographer when it's like, no, this doesn't need to take 15 hours to light this thing, man. And same thing with sound, with production design, you should have a finger in all those departments so you can understand when people are talking about their wants and needs and you'll realize, yeah, this is we have to do this because I know because I have this knowledge. I am by no means a cinematographer, I am by no means a sound mixer, but I understand it and I've dabbled in it, so I can see where they're coming from. I think that makes you a better director.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, 100%. I mean, you got to understand the language of the camera. You got to understand the lenses. You got to understand why you're putting a 50 mil instead of an 80 on there. You know, it's like, what are you trying to convey? What is the shot? What does the shot mean? See, that's the thing with Blind Blood. It's Richard and I discussed every scene before we shot them. You know, it's like I rewrote some of them. I mean, even as we were shooting, you know, the script kept changing. The rewrite some scenes. We were studying it, you know, to the comma, basically. And you know, same day with the framing. I mean, you're looking at everything coming from the art department. You know, all the props, you know, set decoration and props was very important. Everything was very studied. There wasn't, and we were very fortunate in that aspect that there was no like, in a way, pressure as far as the time goes. You know, we were shooting at Richard, so we were like, okay, that's what we told each other. We're like, okay, well, let's make it right. Let's not rush, go in, try to grab everything we can, and then go home and have the movie shot in 10 days.
Yeah.
We were like, no, we're gonna take our time to get what we can with what we got, and I think we were talking about this off camera before we started rolling, but quality, man, over quantity
Yeah.
is for me is what seems to have worked. It took me a while to find somebody like Richard, a cinematographer that I enjoy working with. I love his work. I think he's extremely talented, and that you get along with. I mean, that's really important,
It is.
quality versus quantity. But this, you hire, a cinematographer because you like his work. So once you get on set, yeah, you need to have those notions of why you're using a 50 or 24, so you guys can communicate the emotion, the feeling that you're trying to catch, to get. Um, but if they don't trust you or they don't respect you, and the same with you, if you hire a DP because you've seen his reel and you like his work, then you got to trust them also to a
Hmm.
certain level. So when you say you got to have an understanding of all the departments, the workflow, how they function, how they fit in, and all that. Yeah, absolutely. Because when you have an idea, and it's just like editing, you got to defend it. You got to have a reason. It's not just because, to me, it's like, well, I'm going to tell you why I think it's better to shoot it with a long lens than a 50 or whatever, just because XYZ that fits better, So yeah, understanding these moments, these key points in the different department is extremely important. You can't just be like, oh, that's not my department. You guys figure it out. No,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, especially on the independent level, you know.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So, you were talking about, people having to pick up grandma at the airport and, whatever. Michael Ron died. I have to go to his funeral. Did you have any issues with that, with people bailing out, cast or crew or anyone like that
On this one,
on
on
this
Blind
one?
Blood,
Yeah.
uh, no, not really. I mean, there were some people that, well, crew-wise, yeah. I mean, that's a given. Cast-wise, not really. We had one actor that was on board to play one of the roles that, unfortunately he's in New York and we're shooting in Texas, and since we weren't shooting, 20 days or 25 days in a row, we couldn't afford to fly him back and forth. So
Yeah.
he understood, and I mean, so then you move on to the next on the list, or somebody else or whatever. But none, nobody bailed out. But it was a fear, though. It was a big, big fear because in '95 when I made my short, it was a medium length movie. I mean, yeah. I mean, we had people, we started shooting, and 3 weeks later, because we're shooting on weekends, of course,
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
trying to pay the bills during the week, and somebody came up and said, I'm breaking up with my girlfriend. I'm moving back to Los Angeles. You're one of the leads, man. We've been shooting for 3 weeks already. We got like 5 days in the can. So I replace him. Then he was the lead actress. Decided to leave and go do something in New York. And you're like, all right, back to square one.
Yeah.
Then we had one of the key player, one of, our editor basically that was on board who passed away
Oh,
while we were in the middle of shooting, which, when somebody, you have a close collaborator like that, where you know that is really talented, and he told you, it's like, hey man, we can make it a 20 minutes or 40 minutes. Don't worry about the length. I'll cut it for you. You're like, oh wow. So, now you're having to go find somebody else, probably a whole different movie than. So when that came up with Richard about Blind Blood, I was like, oh man, it's like it's it's a big thing, man. A feature film, especially when you don't have already anything written, you gotta go, you gotta write it. It's time. It's for something that might not even materialize. So it's whew, yeah, man. It's people come and go, but for
they
this
do.
one, I feel like we got extremely lucky because the moment we started shooting, We it was a smooth sailing. I mean, we shoot some stuff. We reshot some stuff. We had to reshoot stuff because once we looked at it, we're like, technicality, or it was, something else, and we're like, okay, but we could do it because we would step outside, and here was the pickup truck, and we just need to redo it. So we were very fortunate on that point, but the longer it takes, the more problems can come up and more
Absolutely.
tragedies and things, life basically. So, but no, pretty fortunate with this one. Um, because Richard kind of came up with the concept of asking me, is like, Michael, why don't we just shoot a scene and then we go cut it and see how it works. And of course, in my head, I'm like, shoot a scene. I shoot the whole thing if we're gonna go, And I was like, well, you know what, man, not a bad idea. So which scene are we gonna test? And the whole flashback just hit me in New Orleans. I'm like, well, um, why don't we do that? Because the movie actually happens 9 years after that flashback. So we shot the whole New Orleans portion in the summer of 2017, and then we went away and we cut that. The first, it was 15 minutes of the picture, and we showed it around to a few people, and they were like, "Yeah, you got to keep going, man. This is looking good. It's interesting. It's really good performances. It's looking great. It's sounding great." And so we're like, "All right, let's go for it." And you know, then you jump in, and once the race is on, man, it's on, and it's a marathon, man. You got it's not a sprint. It's not like a commercial where you
No,
where you just go through 3 days, boom, 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 work 14 hour days, and then wrap everything up and go home. So emotionally, it can take a toll on people as well.
oh yeah.
You
How long?
know,
How
Go
long of
ahead.
a shoot was it?
I never really consolidated all the shoot days and the pickups and the extras, but I would say between 20 25 maybe. I don't know. That's a question for Rich. I should know that. Uh, but I never took the time to really break it down. But I would say, 20 days is a good 20 22 3 with some pickups and stuff like that maybe.
So the first portion was in 2017, and how long did
Mhm.
you take off before you came back for the second part?
We started shooting again March or April of 2023 after that. I mean, 2018. So, a few months,
Oh, okay.
a few months, kind of let the hair grow back a little bit and kind of age us a little bit without dyeing the beard and looking a little younger. And kind of we're like, well, it kind of works because we weren't wearing wigs or anything like that. That was really us. But yeah, so that was about it. I think the most challenging thing for me was, movie is over. It takes you a year and a half to shoot it, but then during post, you got to keep the hair, you got to keep the weight.
Yeah.
I was right over 200 pounds for the role, which is pretty much a lot for me. I'm kind of happy at around 183, 5, what around there. So the extra weight, I just wanted to put it on just for realism. I think those guys, those goons, those sociopathic, psychopathic killers, and those guys, they're not gym rats. Usually they kind of do their own thing, and especially when you take it to the extreme, like characters like Raoul, then I think it just fit him. It was great, but then you got to keep that weight, and just in case if there's some pickups, because you never know, you never know. But so was yeah, yeah. So
I have no problem keeping the weight on, brother.
yeah, no,
That's my struggle.
well, we all struggle somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's adding on all that weight just for the project, it was definitely probably not the healthiest thing to do, especially when you're not 25 anymore. But it is what it is, man. But yeah, it's that was one of the challenges there for sure. So
So I would say watching a film, what I thought you did really well, and I've watched a pretty fair amount of indie films in over the last year since we've really brought the podcast back as more of a review thing. And man, the the tension, the tension scenes, I thought you really nailed those, like with the cop
thank you.
and with the guy who was breaking in, who kind of kicked everything off. And even
Hmm.
when he first showed up, to kind of you know, I forget what he asked, do you like fucking another man's wife or something? Whatever he asked, I was like, oh man, where's this going? This I was feeling that, man. I really appreciated that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That definitely was one of those challenges that when you write them down, you put them down on paper, then you're like, well, how is that going to work on the screen? You map it out in your head, but knowing that I was going to edit the movie, I kind of also wrote it with an editor's mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. Well, like you're talking about those little moments. But I got to tell you, man, the chemistry between Henson and Blair on this one, between Billy and Mark, was just like, and then Magosha, Sarah comes in, and you write something, you're like, I think I got, I can get that uncomfortable moments and kind of get the essence of the scene, and then the guys show up and they start doing it, and you're like, oh man, this movie is much better than the one I wrote. You know what I mean? It's like they bring him to life in such a manner.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you get into the editing and then you start playing with those awkward pauses and looks and moments and try to build on like that. And I'm glad it spoke to you, man. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. How many of the cast did you work with before?
Mark Hansen plays Jack, and I have collaborated on maybe six, seven, maybe even eight of the projects.
Hmm.
Billy Blair, I had known also for a long time, and I had directed Billy on a short film back in 2001. And I've known Billy from the circle of people that we were hanging out with back in the 90s, and we were kind of working in the same industry, the nightlife where you meet people and
Yeah.
people from the business. So I've known Billy for a long time. And Paula, I had worked with her before on a pilot, on a half-hour comedy pilot that we had done. Rick, who plays Sullivan, I had worked with him also. I had known him from the 90s. We crossed paths before on other sets. So, um, these are the relationships that you cultivate over the
Hmm.
years, and so when it's time to make your own project, you reach out to these people, see if they're available and if they want to be a part of it. And so yeah, I would say two, three, maybe. Who else? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, 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 no. Yeah, yeah. So the other ones never worked with them before. So yeah, we had to cast them.
Yeah, most filmmakers I talk to all tell the same story over and over again. You end up working with the same people over and over again because you build that trust. And even, big time directors work with the same actors over and over again because you build that trust and you have that working relationship and you have this sort of unspoken language and that's as I was, I guess, explaining this to my girlfriend who, had no connection with the business before we got together whatsoever. I'm like, that's really what it's all about. That feeling when you get on set and it's immediately like a family.
Hmm.
You're having a good time, you're having fun, having the time of your life, even though it's hard as shit to do this. Even though it's stressful, even though you got a million different things you're thinking about, at the same time, outside of that, you're like, man, this is so cool. This is this is such a cool thing. And I think that human connection is why we keep coming back to it.
Yeah, there's definitely this camaraderie where you're like you said, you're a family for a little while. We're gonna live together. We believe in the project. Once again, going back to what I was saying earlier, it's like these people are here because they believe in you, and you got to believe in them as well.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, it's your movie. So it's got to be that respect and trust and communication and collaboration, really. But yeah, it is hard. It is very hard, and getting to, it's, I don't even want to say that it's like seeing your words come to life. It's not even that. It's seeing at the end of the day, if you have that story, is it holding up? You can do a scene on your own, or you can use, but do you have what it takes to actually make a movie that will keep people interested throughout? If you don't have, you know, big A-listers or something like that. And so these people get together, they do it, and when it works, when you put it together and it works, it's fun. It's it's
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. We're entertaining people. We're not saving lives here.
No.
You know what I mean? No babies are dying if we don't finish this movie. It's a silly, it's a silly thing to think about. But yeah, we're here to entertain people for an hour and a half, for an hour and 45 minutes, so they forget about their trouble. That's all we're doing. I
Yeah.
mean, that's all I was doing, or we were
No.
doing. I mean, I know,
I
people use it for other means, but
I agree completely. So what's next? What is the follow up?
the follow-up. Well, I just finished a screenplay not too long ago that I think would be a great follow-up to Blind Blood. It's a small Texas town murder mystery. But I'm not going to say. I don't want to jinx it. But it is. I have a screenplay for another kind of. Yeah, it's a murder investigation in a small town in Texas, and by a investigative journalist from the Dallas Morning News that investigates the murder of a 4-year-old boy. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But that's the one I'd like to get off the ground. I mean, is that going to happen? I don't know. You're knocking on doors, you're reaching out. Hey, you're doing your own pictures, man. But if you know anybody, let me know. Support, collaboration, man. I'm just kidding. But it's yeah. So that's the next one that I would like to get off the ground if I can.
So it's not a direct sequel in any way to Blind Blood.
No, 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 not.
Did you have any plans for that at all?
I mean, if the right investors come along, we can talk about it. But it never was written with a sequel in mind, or a prequel, depending on the way we were going to go. So no, 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 no
Because
doing that.
I thought that that's how it ended. Like this seemed like the setup for another story. Like, okay, where's the rest of the story? There's got to be more coming.
Well,
So
there could be, that's for sure. But also it's kind of fun to let without giving it away, to have that kind of ending where people can they can make up their own things. They can talk and they can wonder, they can, hey, what's, but I think that for this particular project, even though some people may need more closure to it, I think that the closure is there if you know how to grab it.
oh no, I I agree with that, but there definitely is a possibility for more. But
Oh
it didn't.
yeah, 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 yeah,
It
definitely.
it was not unsatisfactory in its ending at all. So I'm not
Okay,
saying
cool.
that. But my last feature, we had a post credit scene that kind of set up, hey, there could be more. But
Gotcha,
but
gotcha.
hey, we need money to make that happen.
Right, right, exactly. So, even though I mean, I would love to revisit those characters maybe down the road sometime. I don't think it's in the stars right now. So
Sure.
trying to move on to something different, you know, but still in the thriller I mean, not thriller, but more of a suspense kind of a
Yeah.
crime drama.
Well, Michael, we have talked about a lot tonight.
Yes, we have.
I think we have talked about what we normally talk about on this podcast, the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens of true independent filmmaking. I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, sharing your background. And man, where can we find Blind Blood at?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Chris. That was blessed. I really enjoyed talking to you, and thank you for the push and the support. We couldn't do it as independent filmmakers without you guys helping us reach out to new audiences. So thank you for that, man. Really appreciate it. Where's Blind Blood? Blind Blood can be found on Amazon, on Tubi, on Fawsome, on pretty much a lot of streaming platforms these days.
Well, spectacular. All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck in all your future film endeavors.
Likewise, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Indie film sucks. Indie film sucks. It's the Indie Film Sucks